Hello everyone. A question I get all the time is, what is a real estate lawyer and why do I need one when I'm going to buy property? My name's Ryan Martin and I'm the founding partner of Aura LLP, and I'm also a real estate lawyer, and we're going to tackle this question about what is a real estate lawyer and why I need one. We're going to tackle this question right now. A good way to think of the real estate lawyer is to think of them as the quarterback of the real estate transaction. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, the real estate lawyer is essentially the on-field manager who calls the plays by creating documents that make the transaction move forward. They're also the managers on the field because they handle and deliver the funds from one side to the other, hence the quarterback reference, right? If I act for the buyer in the transaction, I take the funds down the field by delivering it to the sellers. The seller's lawyer then receives those funds, much in the same way as a wide receiver would in a real football game. And in that sense, the lawyers in the transaction are really working on the same team. That's quite surprising for most people, but that's the reality of the situation. We are trust parties in the equation. We ensure that all of the elements are met and achieved so that a touchdown, quote unquote, can happen. That's really the 1,000-feet view of the circumstances, but let's take a look at the details. Before we get into the details, if you like the video, don't forget to click the like button below to show some love. If you want more content on real estate law, or real estate news in the Canadian market, hit the subscribe button and turn notifications on to get an update when we post a new video. Now, let's get into the video. Whether you're a first-time buyer or a long-term investor buying a land to build your next project, a real estate lawyer needs to do two things. Number one, ensure that you're getting what you paid for. In other words, that you're getting the property that you expect to get under the agreement of purchase and sale that you signed. Secondly, your lawyer should ensure that you're protected from incurring any debts or liens by purchasing a property to which a third party may have an interest. We got to get those interests off of that lot. Without a real estate lawyer, you really run the risk of incurring these debts and liabilities of a seller or a third party or somebody else who has an interest in the property. You also run the risk of purchasing property that did not have clear title. And you got to make sure that your real estate lawyer protects you from any of these defects on title, like an encumbrance or a mortgage or a lien. Those elements may inhibit your ability to sell the property down the road. You want to make sure that that's taken care of so that isn't a problem later. As real estate lawyers, really, we protect you from inheriting financial legal obligations that could have negative impacts on your investment down the road. That could be disastrous in the long run. What should you look for your real estate lawyer to do when you're purchasing property? Well, first of all, you want to make sure that they're reviewing and explaining all of the legal documents to you. Of course, you want them to do that. That's what a lawyer does. They should be doing that. Second, you want to make sure that your lawyer investigates the property. Of course, ensures that the title to the property is in fact clear from all of the potential issues that could arise. Mostly when we're talking about issues, we mean interest from other parties, an interest from the seller who's selling the property, an interest from a potential third party or a bank that may have an interest on the property. So what's important is that those issues are taken care of. And if for some reason you have a question with respect to any of this, you want to make sure that you ask that question. Don't be afraid to ask the question. Don't be afraid to ask what searches were and weren't completed on the title of the property as part of the transaction. Third, you want to make sure that your lawyer discusses any of these legal issues that may come up with you. Issue on the title that issue is raised with you right away in case that prohibits or stops you from doing something. And in fact, we have a funny story about that. We've got a client actually that had a bylaw registered on title that prohibited them from buying the property next door to them. That's a unique circumstance that the client was happy that we in fact found, because then they knew what kinds of plans they needed to make going forward. Last, your lawyer will draft closing documents for you. Of course, you're going to sign those documents, but then they're going to deliver those documents to the seller's lawyer and to the seller subsequently to close the transaction, as well as your name goes onto the title of the property. So you want to make sure that your lawyer is handling those documents, transferring them or getting them over to the sellers, and then as well putting you on title so that the property can become yours. Now at the closing meeting, if you're buying property, your real estate lawyer will provide you with a trust ledger showing you a breakdown of all of the funds in the transaction, such as closing costs, mortgage amounts, land transfer tax, any other charges as well that may have come up along the way in the transaction. You're also going to receive a closing report with a deed on the land and a closing letter outlining all things taken care of by the lawyer. This will include as well as a switchover of the property tax account, water account, because now what's going to happen is instead of the seller paying for all of those bills, you're going to be the one. If you're selling your property, you should expect that your lawyer will provide you with an overview of the proceeds. If you have a mortgage, you should see the payout amounts on the trust ledger provided by your lawyer, and you should have a good understanding of how much money will end up in your pocket. And that's it. That's a high-level overview of what a real estate lawyer does and why you need one to close the transaction. If you found this video helpful and you want more content and tips on real estate law, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. If you need help closing a real estate deal or you're in the middle of a transaction right now, you can contact Aura LLP at aurallp.com, and we'll see you in the next video.